Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show that's all about speaking your truth, sharing your stories, and sparking the conversations that matter most. I'm your host, Rodney W. Collins, and this is the Speak On It Show. On this show, we dive deep into the thoughts, experiences, and ideas that shape our world. It's a place where voices are heard, perspectives are celebrated, and discussions are not just encouraged, but cherished. Whether it's culture, politics, personal growth, or just life's everyday adventures, we're here to explore it all. We've got engaging interviews, thought-provoking discussions, and sometimes we might even stir the pot a little bit. Speak On The Show is where we challenge the status quo, celebrate diversity, and engage in conversations that make us think, laugh, and grow. So get ready to be inspired, get ready to connect, and most importantly, get ready to speak your truth. Without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. It's time for the Speak On It Show with your host, Rodney W. Collins. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Rodney W. Collins Speak On The Show. I am Rodney W. Collins. First and foremost, giving honor to God who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there, surviving through these things that we're dealing with. But we're going to go ahead and jump into this. Let's go get these formalities. I've been gone for about 2 weeks, but we're going to get these formalities out the way. So let's go ahead and do that now so we can jump on into this. Rodney W. Collins channel on YouTube and Facebook, broadcasting live this morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, every Saturday morning on the Rodney W. Collins channel. You can also go there, find all the old videos. I'm getting active on TikTok. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. Do a little bit of Instagram here and there, but you can follow me there, Rodney W. Collins channel, or just Rodney W. Collins on Instagram and TikTok. So, I want to bring this up because, last month, let's start with last month. Last month was Mental Health Awareness Month. Last month was Mental Health Awareness Month. And I want to bring this up because there's an afterthought when it comes to our mental. There's an afterthought, and I'll put it in these terms. A lot of times we go through life and there's a lot of things that mentally are affecting us that we don't address or we don't feel comfortable talking about. There's a certain stigma with men, and let's just talk about men as a whole. As men, that we don't talk about the things we may be dealing with or what we're going through. You've heard me on this show many times say, pick up the phone and check in on your people. Pick up the phone and call a brother today or any of those type things, right? And it's not just for the brothers. Let's just be clear. I'm talking about the sisters out there too as well. Call and check on the people that you haven't heard from or that come to your mind, any of those type of things. And the reason I bring this up is me and my wife were having a conversation the other day, and we were talking about checking in. And I said, it's very rare that anybody checks in on me. And I'm not saying this for nobody to be feeling bad for me, nothing like that. It was just a conversation. And she brought up back in the day, I used to send out motivational quotes in the mornings and things like that. I got away from that. But I also realized that there's not a lot of phone calls that come in to me, but I do a lot of phone calls out, a lot of text messages out. I'll send text messages out, just say checking in, pray everything is well. Get a response, I get a response. If I don't, I don't. But I know I'm doing what is in my heart to do. As, my wife always says that her boss used to say, maintain the integrity of the system. And that's what I do when I decide to check in on people and do that. But no more than the next day after we talked about that, I get a phone call. And the phone call says, "What's up, man?" I was like, "What's going on?" And he says, "How you doing? You good?" I said, "Yeah, I'm good." "How's your mental?" And it kind of caught me off guard when he said, "How's your mental?" But this was my brother OT. OT was calling just to do a check-in, make sure I'm good. He's noticed I wasn't on for the last 2 weeks, but he also wanted to check on, make sure I was good with my mental. And he said he was doing it also in conjunction with June being Men's Mental Health Month. Now, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. In conjunction with Mental Health Awareness Month is also Women's, let me take my glasses off because I can't read my notes, Women's Health Week, which begins on Mother's Day and runs for the week. Men's Mental Health Month starts in June. What jumped out at me when I was researching this was, wait a minute, how come women only get a week if men get a whole month? What's really going on here? But women is in conjunction with the Mental Health Awareness Month. But there's something to be said about us needing, or them thinking that we need, a month as men to check on our mental health. Now, I know it's near the end of June. I haven't been on in 2 weeks. Probably could have talked about this before, but things happen in time. But what I want to do this morning is I want to put this out there for anybody and everybody. Men, women, kids. This is something that I think I want to put into play. Now, I have something else coming up later on in the show, but I want to put this out here now. And that is this. The check-in. The check-in. Nothing dramatic, nothing great, just the check-in. And I want to challenge anybody and everybody. Anybody and everybody to do the check-in. The check-in is simply a phone call. You can do a text, but you may not get the response you need from a text. But the check-in should be a phone call to somebody you haven't heard from, somebody you know may be going through something, some life-changing things or something. The check-in, it's simple. All you're doing is checking on your brother, your sister, to make sure they're good. Because I think we get so caught up where, and this is one thing, me and my wife talked about it, it just bothers us. When someone calls and says, "Are you busy?" Are you busy? If I was busy, I would not have picked up the phone. That's number one. But if you're calling me for a reason, whether it's just to check in, whether it's to talk to me about something, anything like that. And we have to get out of this habit that when we call somebody, we beat around the bush about why we really call. We need to be more intentional. I'm going to use that word intentional of when we're calling someone about what we want to talk about, what's on our mind, or what may be bothering you. Because sometimes the check-in can be reversed. You may be the one calling to check on, like you're checking in on somebody else, but you may need to hear that voice on the other end. Think about that. The check-in. Very simple thing to do. Pick up the phone. Call somebody you haven't heard from. Call somebody that you may be struggling with something. Call somebody that may have just gone through something or got anything. But we have to get better at reaching out. We have to get better at reaching out rather than expecting everybody to reach out to us. And I say that, but I don't want people to think or feel guilty if they don't call me per se, or they don't call you. It's not a guilt thing. It's a check-in, just to make sure you're good. Just to make sure you're good. I wanted to bring that up because I think there's something to be said, and this revolves around Mental Health Awareness Month for men. Mental Health Month for men in June. We had May last week, Mental Health Awareness Month, but it revolves around everything that's going on in the world right now. Some people, let's just be real, we have some people who have children that are serving in the military right now, where there's a lot of anxiety about what's next, as far as what's going on with Israel and Iran, or being deployed somewhere in the United States to, do things to American citizens here. Those things play a toll. And if you have military members that you know that are serving at this time, it may be a good time for you to check in on them with everything that's going on. We have to get better at the small things. At the small things. Because what we find out is the longer we allow things to linger, the worse they get. The worse they get. And I have this wrote down about Men's Mental Health Month. Every day, millions of men carry silent battles behind composed faces. They go to work, they show up with their families, they crack jokes with their friends, but underneath it all, many are quietly wrestling with anxiety, depression, loneliness, or burnout, and far too often they do it alone. June is Men's Mental Health Month, a time to spotlight a reality that often goes unspoken. For decades, the conversation around mental health has expanded, yet men remain one of the most underserved and overlooked groups in this space. Whether it's due to stigma, cultural expectations, or lack of access, the truth is clear. Men are hurting, and many don't know where to turn. This just isn't just about individual well-being. It's about the ripple effects on families, workplaces, communities, and future generations. When men are denied the tools or permission to take care of their mental health, everyone feels the consequences. They mentioned tools, and I'm going to say this. We hear this many times about what you have in your toolbox. As a man, as a woman, as a person in this world, what do you have in your toolbox? This right here, we're on it all the time. We're either searching, looking at videos, all the different things you can think about that you do with this phone. In the midst of that, it takes less than 20 seconds to send a text message. And it takes less time to dial a number in your contacts to do a check-in. It's not hard. We find time for what we want to find time for. If you call someone your brother, or you call someone your sister, and these are people that you genuinely care about, the check-in should be a weekly standard to make sure everyone you say you care about is okay. Everyone you say you would go to war for is okay. Everyone you say you love is okay. It's not hard. It's not hard. We just got to get in the habit of doing it. When I say in the habit of doing it, we just need to get out of our own way, stop making excuses, take the phone off of scrolling through Facebook, TikTok, and all these other things, and check in. And I'll give you one more thing that I noticed. I get a lot of videos. I get a lot of videos in my DMs of different things going on. Some political, some funny, all the different things you can think about. But never once in my DMs, watch this now. Never once in my DMs have I ever received something that just said, checking in. Are you good? So the time you took to send that video, you could be checking in. Just putting it out there. I mean, some will follow, some won't. It's up to you. But I think it's something that needs to be said, especially during this time of Men's Mental Health Month. Though we're coming to an end, but I got something else that I want to talk about later on. Go leading into the coach's corner, but we're going to get into this week. So let's go ahead and get into this without further ado. Let's go. In the news, and this is not something that we don't already know. This week, as of Thursday, June 19th, Juneteenth holiday. Juneteenth holiday. And I think this is a time where I want to go back a little bit because, I know that a lot of people do know what Juneteenth is. I know a lot of people know why it's celebrated. I know a lot of you know what this flag stands for. But I want to reiterate this because I want to get into something. Juneteenth, this is the flag for Juneteenth. The colors. The red, white, and blue colors represent the American flag, a reminder that slaves and their descendants were and are Americans. The arc, the curve that extends across the width of the flag, represents a new horizon, the opportunities and promise that lay ahead for Black Americans. The star, the white star in the center, represents both Texas, the Lone Star State, as well as the freedom of African Americans in all 50 states. The burst, the bursting outline around the star is inspired by a nova, a term that astronomers use to mean a new star. This represents a new beginning for African Americans. The date marks the day enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas learned of the freedom when Union troops arrived to announce the Emancipation Proclamation. And mind you, it was happening, the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1863, but they didn't find out until 1865. But I'm not going to give you that part of the history lesson. We're just going to continue on. So, Melvin Jackson, my brother, good morning. Good morning. Appreciate you. So with this flag that we see, only during the time of the celebration of Juneteenth, and I did a show about 3 years ago where I asked, why can't this flag and the American flag be flown every day beside each other? Because one represents the freedom of this country when it was established in 1776. This flag represents a large population of this country whose ancestors were freed and notified that they were free on June 19th, 1865. But there's a lot of people that have a problem with us celebrating Juneteenth. There's a lot of people that look at it like, why is we getting another holiday? Or there's too many holidays. Case in point, President Trump on Juneteenth, he said, U.S. has too many non-working holidays. Now, mind you, there was no celebration. There was no recognition. There was nothing done by this person sitting in the Oval Office compared to other past presidents for this day to be recognized for the national holiday. But he said, President Trump on Thursday, which marks Juneteenth, the newest addition to the U.S. holiday calendar, said the country is losing money due to the number of federal holidays. Too many non-working holidays in America. It is costing our country billions of dollars to keep all of these businesses closed, the president wrote in a Truth Social post. The workers don't want it either, he added. Now, let's stop there. But he also said government employees are traditionally given a day off on federal holidays while receiving pay. Let's stop there for a minute. Because I know many people who work in the civilian sector, not government employees, but civilian sector, who don't get this holiday. They don't get Juneteenth. They don't get Columbus Day. They don't get Washington's birthday. President's Day. So for him to say we have too many holidays and, we're losing money and all this, that's just something to say, I'm going to find a way. I'm going to find a way to pull this back. There was no recognition by this White House when his press secretary was asked about him signing the declaration for this day. She blew it off. She blew it off. So anybody out there who chose to vote for this person is in office that tries to tell me that there's inclusiveness at the same time where he's eliminated anything that deals with DEI, and now he doesn't even recognize Juneteenth as a holiday, which is a national holiday that Joe Biden put into place. You can't tell me, because here's the thing, and let me back up. He recognized his first 4 years. His first 4 years, he recognized it. He's not recognizing it now because he's eliminating all these DEI policies. So you can't tell me that this person, you can say, and like I say, I don't like to call anybody racist, but he has racist tendencies by eliminating anything and everything that shows the history of this country when it comes to Black African Americans. Juneteenth, created to celebrate the freedom of enslaved Black Americans, was designated a federal holiday in 2021 by former President Biden. Soon, we'll end up having a holiday for every once working day of the year. It must change if we are going to make America great again, Trump wrote on Thursday. The president did not participate in any Juneteenth events or celebrations. Biden, while in office, hosted a celebratory concert on the South Lawn with famous Black performers and invited a range of elected officials to attend the formal gathering. This year, the person who has stage 4 cancer participated in a commemorative event in Galveston, Texas. You know the one they call Sleepy Joe, the one they say he ain't got all his faculties, that guy? Yeah. Him. Here is a list of all the national holidays, federal holidays. And as I mentioned, if you look at this, and the people in the civilian sector that aren't government employees or whatever, federal employees, I want you to look at this and tell me how many of these days you don't get off as a federal holiday where this man is saying that we're losing money. New Year's Day, everybody gets New Year's. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, everyone does not get that day off. There's a lot of civilian sectors that don't celebrate that. President's Day, a lot of civilian sectors don't do that. Memorial Day, yes. Juneteenth, no. Independence Day, yes. Everything shuts down. They had these big celebrations, all kinds of stuff. Labor Day, yes. Columbus Day, not since they've changed it to Indigenous Peoples Day. Once they changed it to Indigenous Peoples Day, people were a little uproar about it being changed from Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. Veterans Day, yes. Thanksgiving, yes. Christmas. This person that sits in the Oval Office shows us each and every day that anything he does is not for the people. Anything he does is not for the people. It's for his own benefit. And who is he placating to by trying to eliminate Juneteenth holiday, which is on the block? I mean, you ain't have to say it, but it's on the block. And who is he placating? The white nationalists, white supremacists in this country. The white nationalists, white supremacists in this country is who he's placating to by looking to eliminate. And he didn't say it. I'm just telling you what it is. Looking to eliminate Juneteenth as a holiday because he said we have too many. You look at this. Which ones is he going to eliminate? Which ones would he eliminate? Probably the last two that were ever put into place across the board. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Juneteenth. Mark it down. I'm telling you what I know. Not telling you what I read. I'm telling you what I know. Writings on the wall. But then there's this, and this is where I get upset with a lot of my people. Certain ones in the media, they, talk all boisterous and loud and wrong. Let me just say loud and wrong. Because the NAACP this week announced that they're breaking their 116-year tradition by not inviting the sitting president to a national convention. They said it's a waste of our time. They said it's a waste of our time. And this is what they said in their response. Our annual convention is meant to be a safe space for all people, regardless of political ideology, who believe in multiracial democracy and the ideal of building a more perfect union, the group said. To that end, the NAACP has made a decision to break with tradition and not invite Donald Trump or J.D. Vance this year. This administration does not respect the Constitution or the rule of law. It would be a waste of our time and energy to give a platform to fascism, which would be unacceptable. Now, I did a little research on this. And what I found, I'm sorry, y'all, bear with me. And what I found was was that Stephen A. Smith, Screaming A. Smith, whatever you want to call him, came out and said the NAACP is wrong. They're wrong for breaking tradition and not inviting him to the NAACP annual meeting. My question is, why are they wrong? Because here's where, for me, and I'm just going to speak for me, here's where we got people like him, Stephen A. Smith to be specific. We got people like him who are soon to jump on the bandwagon for a racist, for a white nationalist, white supremacist movement encourager, that he would say that the NAACP is wrong for not inviting him when he has shown everything that he is doing goes against everything that NAACP stands for. And for him to sit on his podcast or whatever he was on and say that they were wrong for that tells you everything you need to know about him. Because something we've all known and something we've been told when we were kids and when we were younger. Why are you fighting to be in a room where you're not invited? Why are you fighting to be in a room where you're not invited because of the color of your skin? Why are we continually pushing ourselves to be somewhere or be amongst people that don't give a damn about us? That's what we're told. That's the way we stand on things, is that why are we fighting to be there when they don't want us there? And why would I invite someone to my house or to my meeting, something that's going to uplift and bring people along? Why would I invite somebody who is doing everything in their power to eliminate anything that deals with my people, which the NAACP was established to help people? Why would I invite him? And for you to defend the fact that they should have invited him tells me more about you than it does about them. That crabs in a barrel mentality that we talk about, that we've heard over years and years and years, it's true. The other part of it is Stephen A. Smith recently has started having Candace Owens come on his podcast. Candace Owens. And then he defends her in any way he can, because why? Because they're just alike. They're just alike. And what he's doing, I'm going to put it out there, what he's doing by having her on is trying to bring her people that she usually follows her to start following him. So he gives these kind of takes about the NAACP and all these different things. And now he's starting to talk more politics and everything because someone told him he should run for president. So he's jockeying for position. I said this before and I'll say it again. And I know I'm going to digress here, but I'm going to say this again. They say money is the root of all evil. Money is the root of all evil. That's what we heard. That's what we understood. That's what we've always been told, is that money is the root of all evil. I disagree. Money is not the root of all evil. Money exposes the evil in people. Money exposes the evil in people. See, money is not the root. Your heart, your integrity, who you are as a person is the root. If you allow you gaining some type of financial standing causes you to change who you are and treat the people who look like you in a different way, money didn't cause that. It's always been there. Money has just given you the platform to be able to say it out loud with no repercussions. Some will agree, some won't. That's my opinion. But I say that because we see this happen too often with people in our community, where they'll ride our backs. They'll stand by us while we're supporting them and everything. And then when they get to a certain point, they forget. They forget. Josh Boyd, good morning, my brother. Melvin Jackson, good point. Trent Brand, love of money is the root. The love of money is the root. Yeah, well, you know. I say what I say. But it is. The love of money is the root. And then the thing is, once they get the money, everything changes. Everything changes. Some people, I'm not saying all, some people. I mean, we can look at, let's look at the big picture in things that are going on right now in the news. When we talk about the money, love of money is the root. Diddy. The Diddy trial. R. Kelly. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's something mental too. Yeah, but that money. The guy just seen something the other day about Fat Joe. I seen another thing about Tyler Perry. Now, mind you, all these are minorities per se, but they're all being brought up on charges for, how can I put it? Making sexual advances towards men and others, and they're being sued for it. Think about that. Money, power, respect. We hear it all the time. Money, power, respect. If you got money, they think you have power, and you earn respect. You demand respect, rather. Respect is earned, not a demand. But I digress too far off this. Let's go. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, more commonly known as the NAACP, has broken a 116-year tradition in an unprecedented move against President Donald Trump and his administration's policies. The nation's oldest civil rights organization announced on Monday has decided not to invite Trump to its annual convention for the first time since its founding. And it's going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina. North Carolina's got a lot of issues too. They should have moved it out of North Carolina with everything they're trying to do down there. They tried to overthrow a person that was elected to the court to make them recount votes and everything like that because they didn't agree with the person they were putting on it. They wanted a Republican when she's a Democrat. So you have to look at the writing on the wall and the tea leaves when it comes to these actions. Do I agree with the NAACP? 100%. And I'll go back again. I am not inviting you to my house if you're doing things to block the progress of my people. I'm not inviting you to my meeting if you're doing everything in your power to eliminate everything that my people have contributed to this country. I'm not inviting you. And everybody looks at it and say, well, it's just Juneteenth. Well, Juneteenth, and let me just say this, Juneteenth has been an afterthought for a lot of years for a lot of people. Because a lot of people didn't even know what Juneteenth was. They didn't know anything about it. And then once it came to the forefront of what it all stood for, now it's a whole different conversation. Do we need it? Yes, we need it. Because here's the thing. We've been celebrating July 4th for a long time. I remember as kids, we used to go to parades, watch the fireworks, all that kind of stuff. While I was in the military, I had a guy from Texas, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, who introduced me to Juneteenth. And once I started reading for myself what Juneteenth was all about, I stopped celebrating July 4th. It's probably about 1990, 91, somewhere in there. I stopped celebrating. And I didn't say I stopped, I didn't recognize it. I stopped celebrating it. And I started celebrating Juneteenth. Because my history says during July 4th of 1776, my people weren't even free. And as I've read on this show many times, Frederick Douglass said it so eloquently, what is the 4th of July to the Negro? If you haven't read it, go read it. You can listen to it on YouTube or anything. What is the 4th of July to the Negro? It'll give you a different perspective of what was going on then and how we should be uplifting Juneteenth at this time as a people. But y'all won't do that. Y'all want to complain about things and, it's just another day off and all this kind of stuff where we say we want independence and freedom, but we don't even want to recognize when our people were recognized as being free in this country. Now I'm going to leave the NAACP and Trump, but I'm going to get down to the grassroots thing. Let's talk about the grassroots thing. Kroger in Atlanta. And I thought I had the pictures, y'all. I'm sorry, I had some pictures, but you can go find them online. I thought I had them, but I didn't put them in here. Kroger's grocery store chain is facing backlash over one store's less than celebratory Juneteenth cakes. This week, a woman on TikTok shared a video inside her local Kroger store in Atlanta, Georgia, showing the bakery's offering for the federal holiday commemorating the abolition of slavery. This is what she said. "This is some BS," the shopper said in the clip. "Who the heck made this ugly boo-boo? I wish there was a manager around here because y'all decorate everything else around here cute." The woman showed off a selection of cookie cakes with crude writing and icing of phrases such as "free at last" and "June 19th free." A third cookie cake that only had white frosting on the edges read merely "free." Just said "free." For Juneteenth, you want to just throw something on a freaking cookie cake and expect someone to buy it, the TikToker added. That's BS. She also said she'd be returning to Kroger the next day to talk to an employee about the cakes for Juneteenth. Let me stop there for a minute. Now, this is at the grassroots level. Let's talk about the grassroots level. Number one, first thing jumps out is Kroger's. Kroger's is a grocery store that a lot of people in the South go to, especially in Atlanta, Georgia. Just to be real. Number two, it's in Atlanta, Georgia. Keep that. It's in Atlanta, Georgia. Who do y'all think decorated these cookies and cakes? I'm asking for a friend, not for me. I'm asking for a friend. It's in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia. Who do you think decorated these cookies and cakes? Now, I'm not defending Kroger. Don't get me wrong. I'm not defending them. But who do you think decorated these cookies? Just asking for a friend. Because we're talking about Atlanta, Georgia. You know how many black folks in Atlanta, Georgia? Do you know how many black folks in Atlanta, Georgia? Who do you think decorated them cakes and them cookies? I'm just asking. Somebody thought they were doing something right, and it turned out to be wrong. But how soon we forget about Walmart in 2022. And they had to pull the ice cream from the stores that had Juneteenth wrote on it. And it was said, and someone labeled it as the epitome of white supremacy in action. At the time, Walmart was accused of using Juneteenth to make money without taking action to support black employees and communities. Walmart said to the Independent, "Juneteenth holiday marks a commemoration and celebration of freedom and independence. However, we received feedback that a few items caused concern for some of our customers, and we sincerely apologize. We are reviewing our assortment and remove items as appropriate." Let me just say it this way. Juneteenth stands for more than some ice cream and a poorly decorated cookie. Should they be upset? Yeah, I'd be upset if I seen it. Yes, of course. But don't let that take away from the fact of what you're celebrating on that day. What is Juneteenth all about? It's just not a day off. It's just not a day off. I brought it to my wife the other day. I said, being retired, I said, there's not a lot of things going on for Juneteenth. You usually have some kind of, like they have a parade for Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, or they have some little black expos or different things. Like there was not a lot. And everything that was happening like 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. Now I know it's hot here in Las Vegas, 100 and some degrees. But it just showed me that our enthusiasm we only become enthusiastic about Juneteenth when we hear Donald Trump trying to take the holiday away. It's on us to keep our heritage alive. It's on us to keep our history in the mouths of our children and our mouths. It's our job, not the government's job, not Kroger's job, not Walmart's job, It's our job to teach our children about Juneteenth, to teach them about the things that the atrocities that happen in this country and how we've prevailed up to this point, and now they're trying to take us back. It's our job to let them know what DEI is and how they're trying to eliminate it. So when they become adults like us, they understand what has gone on in this country, so they don't stand there and allow it to happen again. But we're worried about cookies and ice cream and a president that don't give a damn about anybody that has any melanin content. I'm gonna stop myself. I was about to say something I ain't supposed to. But you see where I'm going, right? Yeah. Juneteenth. Recognize it. Celebrate it. I'm going to a celebration today. They pushed it off until Saturday. I'm going to be front and center. Going to the vendors' booths, going to talk to people. I love my people. I love interacting with my people. We all should feel the same way. Let's go. You know, in this Straight Talk segment, I want to go back a little bit into something because it goes along with the Juneteenth and, you know, slavery and how they brought us here from Africa and everything. But I want to bring this up because it was something that jumped out at me as I was doing some reading this week. We all hear about Adolf Hitler. He was a dictator in Nazi Germany, orchestrated the Holocaust and World War II, leading to deaths of over 70 million people. 70 million people. And then we have people in this administration and in the Congress and the Senate and the United States as a whole that carry his views. They admire what Hitler did at the time. Not my words, theirs. You can go look it up. You got people that are, you know, Hitler enthusiasts per se. But there's a name that we very rarely hear. And I wonder why, but I know why. But I'm going to give you a little bit of this. I don't know if a lot of you have ever heard of this guy. This guy's name is King Leopold II from Belgium, from 1835 to 1909. And one of history's most controversial monarchs, celebrated in his homeland for architecture and urban development, yet condemned globally for orchestrating one of the most brutal colonial regimes in Africa. His reign and ambitions, Leopold II ruled Belgium from 1865 to 1909, the longest reign for any Belgian monarch. While Belgium itself was a small European nation, Leopold was obsessed with expanding its influence through overseas colonies. When his government showed little interest in imperialism, he took matters into his own hands. The Congo Free State, in 1885, through diplomatic maneuvering at the Berlin Conference and with the help of explorer Henry Morton Stanley, Leopold secured control over a vast territory in Central Africa. What became known as the Congo Free State. Crucially, this was not a Belgian colony, but Leopold's personal possession, making him the sole owner of a land 76 times the size of Belgium. He exploited the region's resources, first ivory, then rubber, using a system of forced labor enforced by a brutal private army called the Force Publique. Villages were required to meet rubber quotas under threat of violence. Failure often resulted in mutilation, including the infamous practice of severing hands or outright massacres. This is where I think this name needs to be brought up more because of what he did. Estimates suggest that 10 to 15 million Congolese people died as a result of Leopold's regime, through murder, starvation, disease, and exhaustion. The atrocities eventually sparked international outrage led by missionaries, journalists, and activists like E.D. Morel and Roger Casement. Their efforts culminated in the 1908 annexation of the Congo Free State by the Belgian government, ending Leopold's rule. Now, He is still referred to as the Builder King because of what he did with the resources that he was taking from the Congo. But nobody talks about this man. Nobody talks about this so-called king and the atrocities he did in Africa during that time. Why? I'm going to go out on a limb. Because of who it was done to. Have you ever noticed that the things that happen in Africa are never really talked about other than the fact that slavery and the people were brought from Africa here to become slaves? They don't talk about the atrocities that go on. They very rarely talk about apartheid in South Africa. They very rarely talk about the things that happen in Africa. And then I seen something yesterday where this person sitting in the Oval Office was talking about he's going to make peace with, I think, Rwanda and somebody in Africa, and he should get a Nobel Peace Prize for it. And he brings up all these different things, but I digress. Let me get back, because King Leopold II is no different than Hitler. But we always hear about the Holocaust with Hitler, but we never hear about what happened in the Congo under King Leopold II. Now, I don't always like to put race into it, but let's call it what it is. There was still, even though the Holocaust was 70 million people, this was 10 to 15 million people on their soil, killed for resources. But we don't talk about him. And the reason I wanted to start with him and his history is because of this article I found in The Root by Lawrence Ware. And it's an opinion piece, but it goes deep. And it says, after dissing Black Americans for years, African immigrants want us to care as Trump tries to deport them. A professor explains what we should do. Now, there are a lot of Africans that are in this country. African immigrants is what they call. Not the Afrikaners, African immigrants. That they're looking to deport. And they've been out here and they've been in the marches about ICE and everything like that, but they're asking the born African Americans of this country that we should be standing with them at this time. But there's this long history of us as African Americans being dissed, per se, or dismissed by African immigrants that come here. There historically have been tension between Black Americans and African immigrants. Can we put that by the side to stand together against a man who is targeting both communities? It's time we had an uncomfortable conversation, one we need to have years ago, but merely swept under the rug. Now, President Trump's aggressive immigration policies are forcing our hand. There is a rift between Black Americans, the descendants of slaves, and Africans in America, first or second generation immigrants from the continent. To African Americans, the rift is one-sided because we pay little attention to the negative comments. But these long simmering tensions are now coming to a head because there is a call for us, Black Americans, to stand with immigrants, African immigrants, particularly Black ones. But here's the question. Why would we stand with them now when they have been condescending to us for years? To quote a Canadian who lost a rap battle, this has all been brewing in a pot and now it's heating up. Let's talk about it. I think they're talking about Drake. Jump on social media and you will see that this rift is real. There are YouTube videos about the issue, and you will see creators' discussion is split in the communities. And for you academic-minded people, there are articles written about this rift. Hell, there are even books you can read on the subject. This is a long-standing issue. It's not new. However, what is bringing this discussion to a boiling point is President Trump. Earlier this month, the president announced a travel ban. It targeted a number of Black nations as of June 17th. There are 7 African countries in Haiti that are banned from traveling to the United States. And according to reports, they are considering adding 25 more African nations to this list. This would bring the total number of mostly Black nations on the ban to 32, including Nigeria, Ethiopia, and Ghana. This poses a serious threat to first-generation African immigrants who are in the U.S. If their home countries end up banned, they could be deported. Students, people who have lived here for years, whatever. If you do not have a green card or have become a citizen of America, you could be sent packing, and this leads us to the heart of the matter. So, to summarize this, with these 32, total of 32 initially were coming up, ban of black nations that can come here to the United States to visit or anything like that. They're also going to look at the people that have came from those nations, those countries, and send them back. They're going to deport them if they don't have legal citizenship. But people want this president or this person that sits in the presidential seat to be invited to the NAACP meeting that they do annually. Let's continue. There's a discussion happening online about the lack of black presence in the LA protests against ICE. Because of the relative apathy black folks have about immigration, there is now an attempt to unite black Americans and Africans because the writing is on the wall about what Trump will likely do when it comes to African nations. But again, should black Americans care? We have seen the way some Africans look at us through condescending eyes and how some whisper to each other, calling us lazy and underachievers. So should we care? The answer is simple, yes. The reason why there is friction between these two communities is white supremacy. The lies that white people told about black Americans have made their way into some Africans' views of us. Many of them come to America and have success. They then wonder why those of us who have been here for generations have not achieved the same. But they fail to see the decades of institutional racism we have had to endure on American soil. The way we've had to fight for them to have the success they now enjoy. So I always knew there was this rift of African Americans and African immigrants that come here. We've always heard it. I mean, I don't know if everyone's heard it, but I've heard it. They call us lazy, say, we were slaves and stuff because they don't look at themselves as being slaves, which is why I wanted to start off with the Leopold part about how he is not recognized as being with the atrocities he did like Hitler is. But I think the biggest part of this animosity is something that is implemented in where you have people, and let's just be real, they're asking why we're not out marching with these ICE raids and everything like that. You have to think about it this way. The people that are asking where we're at during these ICE raids, where were you at during George Floyd? Where were you at during Rodney King? Where were you at when all the things that have happened to people currently that we know about, police brutality, us being locked up for years because of crimes we didn't commit, where were you then? And I'm not saying this is a tit for tat, but we have long memories of who was there with us and fighting for us at the time when we needed them. The same people that are asking us to march and be out there for these ICE protests about the deportation are the same people that went to the polls and asked for this administration to be president. These are the same people who voted over 50 to 60% for this administration. And now we did our part at like 80 something percent, 82, 85, somewhere in there, 86 as a community. But now you want us to stand with you when you didn't listen to us when we told you what was going on. And now when we talk about the African immigrants who did not vote or could not vote, when we talk about them, the way you've thumbed your nose up at us for all these years thinking we're less than you because our ancestors were slaves here, now you're being sent back to a country you were trying to get away from because the opportunities weren't there. You came here to get them. And because you had an opportunity to get the things that we weren't always able to get, and you shrugged your nose up at us, now you want us to stand in solidarity with you. Funny how those tables turn, ain't it? Now, I'm not saying all African immigrants are guilty of what I'm talking about, but there's a large population of African immigrants who look at us like we're less than. Like we're less than. The same way that there's some white nationalist supremacists in this country that look at us as less than. And there's some who aren't even white supremacists that look at us as less than. There are those that come from Latin countries, El Salvador, Puerto Rico, all those different ones over there that look at us as less than. And now that they're on the chopping block to be deported or whatever, they're looking at us to stand with them. Should we stand with them? It's torn. I'm torn. Because when we needed the support, we couldn't get it. That's y'all's fight. Do what y'all got to do. But now that you need support, because you've seen what we've done when we have to march, when we have to do the things we do, when you go back through history, we shall overcome. You want us to be in the mix with you. This is one of those cases where everybody has to make their own decision on whether they want to participate with what's going on or not. As the black women said at the election, we're going to sit this one out. We're going to sit this one out because where were y'all at when it came time to go to the polls? And this is not only about the elections, it's about everything that happens in this country. When they see the injustices, they turn their heads. They look the other way. Why? Because it's not affecting them. But now that something's affecting you, you want us to jump on the bandwagon with you. The biggest question needs to be asked is, why is this deportation action being taken now in the way it's being done now compared to all the other administrations? Why? Fear of a black planet. I just seen an article the other day. Europe, all the countries in the EU, European Union, are looking at their immigration processes and looking to stop people coming into Europe. Who does that affect mostly? People coming from Africa. This is not just a United States problem. This is a world problem, where they're looking to eliminate the immigrants that are coming into the country that look a certain way. Here it just started at the border because they were brown. But now they're leading into the African immigrants. I haven't heard anything about banning countries in Europe from coming here. Pay attention. You haven't seen anything about countries in Europe not being able to come here. Middle East, yes. Europe, no. No. What do we do? Where do we stand? What side do you choose? Bad that we have to even choose a side in this matter, but what side do you choose? What side? Yeah. That's where we're at. What side do we choose? Let's get into this. Only the warrior who has faced battle truly knows its cost. Yet it's the spectators who shout the loudest. Everybody's got something to say about your life, but most of them, they've never fought your battles. They didn't feel the pressure. They didn't carry your fears. They weren't there when you almost broke, but didn't. So don't let their noise define you. Don't explain your scars to the unscarred. Respect your scars. They're not signs of weakness. They're receipts of your strength. You're not here for applause. You're here for alignment. Legacy isn't given, it's built. Own the journey. Embrace the power. Live the legacy. Lifegistics, coaching solutions. So I start off the show today talking about the check-in, which I wanted to be something that is a weekly thing. But I have this new initiative that I'm trying to do, that I want to do, dealing with men, dealing with us men. Black men specifically. Unmasked the weight we carry. I want to make this a monthly conversation. And I want it to be where we come together. We remove the mask that we wear every day. and we talk about the weight of not only being a man, but being a black man. Now, a lot of people say, well, all men carry a burden and something. Yeah, okay. But I'm talking to black men right now. Because we have to adapt to so many different things, so many expectations. And there's a certain amount of weight that we carry that goes into the mental health aspect of what I talked about in the beginning of the show. So I want to read this real quick about what this is going to be all about. And when I first thought about this, I looked at it in a way of maybe having like five people just talking about what's weighing them down and having different topics that we touch on. But I don't want to minimize it to just that small of a group, because I want it to be bigger than that. I want it to be where we can come into a room and we can leave everything outside. All our hesitations, take that mask off and be who you are. And I don't want to call it a safe space. I don't want to call it a safe space because we hear that too often. This is a safe space. I don't want it to be a safe space. I want it to be your space. I want you to come in and be who you are to your core and express what's going on with you from your heart. What's going on with you, how you're dealing with it, the highs, the lows, the ins, and all the things, your marriages, raising kids, no handbook on fatherhood, all those things that we think about that we don't realize are weights that we carry. And it goes like this. There comes a time when silence gets too loud, when the weight we carry starts to speak through our shoulders, our sleep, our distance. Unmasked is that moment we stop pretending. It's not a seminar. It's not a fix. This isn't therapy, but it's therapeutic. It's a space to be heard, to check in, and to let go. It's a circle, a breath, a place where men gather to speak what's been unsaid. We check in, not to be strong, but to be real. We speak of fathers and fears, of pressure and purpose, of the masks we've worn so long that they've started to feel like skin. This is where presence becomes power, where truth becomes medicine, and where no man walks out carrying what he walked in with. Unmasked, the weight we carry. And this is presented by Logistics Coaching Solutions. Come as you are, but leave lighter. And I want to go back to that part where it says, we've worn these masks for so long that they've started to feel like skin. There's a certain point in our lives where we put on this facade, I'm going to call it facade, mask, of being strong, standing tall in the face of adversity and everything that goes on. And each time we face adversity and we don't deal with it head on, but we face it and we find a way to deal with it, it adds more weight. It adds weight. Each thing you deal with puts more weight on your shoulders. I want to do this unmasked, the weight we carry, for you to be able to come into this room or come into this virtually and leave everything that you came in with there. There's too many times where we get together as men and we have conversations about anything and everything except what's ailing us. And I think sometimes it's a fact of we're ashamed of what we're dealing with because we don't think the other brothers that may be around us are dealing with the same thing. When in all reality, we all are. maybe not to the same extent, but somehow, some way, we all are carrying some kind of weight that someone else is carrying in the same way, and don't know how to unload it because we don't talk about it. We don't talk. We don't have these conversations where we're just real. I want to change that. I want to change that, because what I know to be true is, if I call you to check in, I'm not calling you specifically to talk about the game last night. I'm not calling you to get distracted about what did you think about this and what did you think about that. I'm calling you because I want to know how you're doing. How are you? With everything that you deal with, how are you? And I think we got to get better at that as brothers, as we call ourselves our brothers' keepers. We have to get better with checking in and finding out what's at the core of what's going on, because we can all put on a mask and smile and be happy. If you go home behind closed doors, now what? There's certain things you can't talk to your significant other or your spouse about because you don't feel vulnerable enough to say it. This is a place for that. And hopefully by coming to this place, coming into this, you can come out with understanding that I can be vulnerable and not worry about what judgment may come because of my vulnerability. I think that's one of the biggest things that holds us back, is we don't want to be judged. We shouldn't be judged. But that's that barrier. That's part of that weight we carry. I don't want anybody to know what I'm dealing with. So we carry it, and we carry it, and we carry it. And then one day, you get a phone call or you see a post on Facebook, because everybody puts stuff on Facebook now, that a brother that you've seen or you knew that looked like he had it all together has passed away. And what did he pass away from? 9 times out of 10, the weight he was carrying. Because he had no outlet. And because he didn't have an outlet, it started causing other problems. Health issues. Because that weight becomes too heavy. The weight becomes too heavy. So I'll be putting this out. I'll be posting it. And anybody's interested in being a part of this, feel free to reach out to me. lifegisticscoaching@gmail.com. Lifegisticscoaching with a Y. Lifegisticscoaching@gmail.com. Let's get this going. I want to kick this off. I want it to be something that we can all be a part of, whether it's virtually or in person. My plan is to do an in-person one sometime in July here in Las Vegas, but the virtual one we'll do after that. But if anybody is interested, lifegisticscoaching@gmail.com. We just need to have some real conversations. But I heard this quote. The other day by Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp said it. He was talking to David Banner in an interview. And he said, they were talking about Shannon, what he's going through, and then his brother going into Hall of Fame. And he asked his brother if he don't want him to, bring him in, that's fine, because of all the controversy he has going with him with the OnlyFans model and everything. But something his brother, he said it was his brother or his sister, I can't remember which one, told him, when we go through things, there's going to be certain times where we struggle because we're going through it. We think people look at us differently and everything. But the quote said, don't ever let your chin touch your chest. Don't ever let your chin touch your chest. And that's not about posture. It's about presence. It's about how we carry ourselves when life tries to carry us away. Don't ever let your chin touch your chest as a reminder to stay upright. Not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. Because when your chin drops, your eyes drop. And when your eyes drop, you stop seeing the world and the world stops seeing you. I thought that was something that somebody needed to hear today, because there's so many times in our lives where we make mistakes. Let's just call it mistakes. And the first thing we do when we see people and we think they're being judged, put a head down. You let that chin touch their chest. I'm here to tell you to keep your head up. Stop walking around in shame. Forgive yourself. Don't worry about all these other people judging it. Forgive yourself. Because when you, as I said, when you drop your chin down to touch your chest and you allow it to touch your chest, that means you're succumbing to everything that's ever been said about you when you know who you are in this world. No matter what mistakes you've made, no matter what you're going through, keep your head up. It's like that old saying. There's another old saying that says, you can only ride a man's back when he's bent over. Stand up straight. We've always heard, when we look back at the videos of, the civil rights movement, everyone suit and tie in the heat, marching straight up, proud, strong. They never let their chin touch their chest. And we should be doing the same thing. And that's why I'm kicking off, as I said, that unmasked, the weight we carry. I don't want that weight that you're carrying to have you having your chin in your chest. I want you to walk up straight. I want you to walk proud. I want you to walk with dignity. And I want you to walk like you own the world, because the world is yours. We got work to do. And I know we got a lot of things going on with politics and everything like that, but we're not going to be good enough to fight these battles if we don't fix ourselves. And in this time with all these things going on, this is the right time that we're working on ourselves while we still fight those battles. This can be one weight taken off of off the load you're carrying by becoming unmasked and getting rid of that weight that we carry each and every day. Lifegisticscoaching@gmail.com. LYFEGISTICS coaching@gmail.com. I appreciate everybody tuning in this morning. I'll be back again next week. Have some more information for you. We're going to keep passing this on. And I got some other things coming up with the life coaching, but bear with me. We got some big things coming, some different conversations, and we're going to keep giving you the information you need. Appreciate everybody tuning in. As I always say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely keep your faith in God. I'll see y'all again next week. I'll holla. Peace.